The first thing you notice about Corwin Buffalo is his striking resemblance to Lorne Cardinal, the bumbling cop from the hit TV series Corner Gas. The 50-year-old equipment operator from Saskatchewan's Ministry of Highways and Infrastructure shares the TV character's warm smile and quirky sense of humor, and has often been mistaken for his famous celebrity twin.
I've always typed with 2 fingers. Now I'm down to 1. I can't.
Corwin is quick with the wit as he tries to ease any awkwardness over the fact he's missing half of his right arm. It happened in a devastating workplace accident 2 years ago on Highway 5 near Wadena, May 7th, 2009, a day Corwin will never forget.
I was taking gravel from the gravel pile that was frozen, and what I would do is take the gravel out with the loader, dump it on the ground, back blade with the loader bucket to crush any lumps, and load it back up into the truck and take it out to the job site. But at the job site, the gravel wouldn't come out because of frozen lumps in the hydro drum. Now our hydro drum should have broke this up because it's got teeth in there that are 2 inches long, spaced 4 inches apart, down an 8-foot length. And this is along with a drum that spins counterclockwise from that, should have spread that out evenly on the highway.
But the clumps kept jamming, so Corwin shut his equipment down and tried to bang out the frozen clumps with a hammer. It worked, but he ran into the same problems with his second load. Only this time, he did not shut the equipment down.
I wasn't thinking too well because of situations at home that was bothering me. That was a bad mistake. I walked to the back of the truck and started banging the hydro drum to loosen up any gravel or clumps, and I saw one clump bouncing around in the drum, so I went to reach for it. The teeth on that agitator grabbed a hold of my coveralls and pulled my arm in, and I pulled back as quick as I could because I knew this was not good. It took me in, wrapped my arm around the agitator teeth, broke my arm, and started pulling. I pulled back as hard as I could, and everything tore away. I saw my arm being broken. I saw the bones where they broke, and I saw the muscle, tissue, tendons, and everything hanging, and blood.
Corwin is a spiritual man and says the Creator was looking out for him that day.
The truck box was in the down position, and at that position, the hydro drum was at my chest. If it was in the up position, the hydro drum would have been at my waist level, and I believe it would have kept on pulling me in further and further. I was just lucky.
Lucky is an understatement. Corwin could have bled to death.
With the pulling action of the agitator bar, it pulled and ripped my arm off. It pulled, therefore pulling my muscles, tendons, and blood vessels with it. But when it released, everything snapped back, kind of slightly closing off the blood vessels.
Corwin was in shock, but he kept his head in the critical moments that followed. He climbed into the cab of his truck to call for help, but he encountered even more problems.
Grabbed my FleetNet radio, and I couldn't call anybody with that one. I grabbed a highway issue cell phone, and I couldn't get through to 911 with that. And I grabbed my personal cell phone, which I finally got hold of 911. My coveralls were torn, were ripped off. They were shredded, so I dropped those on the ground. And I went and sat on the tire, on a tandem tire on the ground, leaned up against the tandem tire. And I was talking with 911, trying to get a hold of an ambulance to come to help me. I must have stayed there for about 25 minutes. I'm not too sure how long.
Once in the care of the ambulance, Corwin started to slip in and out of consciousness.
I started to relax, knowing that I was in good hands now, with people that knew what they were doing.
Corwin says he's run the scenario through his head 1,000 times since the accident and says this never should have happened.
I've been working with equipment for 14 years. I didn't think anything like this would happen to me. With the injury now that it's been 2 years, I'm still continually getting flashbacks, I'm getting nightmares, I'm having dreams, and continually reminded each and every day if I look in the mirror or whenever I reach for something.
Corwin chokes up when he talks about the impact the accident has had on those close to him.
It's my family members, my coworkers, but most of all, my son. Because excuse me. With my son, we were into the sports, golf and baseball, softball. I was on a fast pitch team for the last 4 years before the accident. It's competitive men's fastball. My son turning 16 was about to make the team that year, and I wanted to play with him for that one season and then retire from the sport. But I do realize that although I can't do this now, that I'm just a spectator or I keep him company. But I realize too that I'm not going to give up with this. I'm going to continue on. It's just going to take me a little while to learn to do everything else with my left hand.
Corwin shows off his eagle tattoo on his stub, a symbol of courage and strength, and says he has what it takes to rebuild his life.
The day I got hired on for the ministries, I also received a University of Acceptance letter on that same day. That day, though, I was also a single parent. Corey at that time was 2 years old. My decision was to be financially stable, so I went with the job. At this point in time, though, now I have made up my mind that I would like to go back to school. I'm hoping to take something in human resources or else work along with occupational health and safety. And I'd like to continue and maybe spread the message of due diligence, of which I did not do that day. To make sure that people to keep their mind on their job, if possible, no matter what happens at home, to keep your mind on your job because of the dangers that are present, and to make sure that you go home at the end of the day to your families.